going through another book that changed my life. It is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. It's a book that we covered in the mentorship class, and yes, as I told you in my 2 stories of the mentorship class, we had the time when I was a mentee and when I moved on to be a coach. And actually this book hits different every time I read. The beautiful thing about it is that there are 7, so it's numbered. That number 1 is this, number 2 is this, how am I applying this, how do you follow your mentees also when they are trying to apply this and that principle, one step at a time. So you're welcome to starting out and continue with me on this journey. Thank you. So the first habit is being proactive. There's actually a song by Jana Bolin on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Being proactive, she says, you are in charge. So in other words, we know that so many things happen to us, and we are bound to think of ourselves more as people who react to those events. But being proactive is more about deciding to do something. You realize that yes, so many people in our families maybe have failed. Maybe it's a difficult continent to do business, to succeed, excel. But the fact is, we have to be proactive. We have to decide, okay, are we going to make sure that we get good grades? Are we going to move out into business? What are we going to do? What decision are we going to make that is going to make a change? And that is about being proactive. It's something I could actually add to the video that I had talked about making a decision in this era of information overload. There's so much information coming at us, but it does not change that we still have to make a decision. So the second habit is begin with the end in mind. Now, most people will look at that as, how would I call it? Deceiving oneself, being euphoric about things that can never happen. But by the mere fact that if somebody doesn't visualize where they are going, they do not have the urgency to work towards it. So beginning with the end in mind can be through anything visual, pictures, magazines, vision boards, things like in the mentorship class we predominantly have the dream chart, something with a picture, like perhaps a car that you want to drive in the future, the impact that you want to have, the job that you want to do, even just picturing your degree when it will come, the picture of how it will be when you get one, the family that you want to have, and putting a date on it so that you actually know that you are working towards something and have direction. So the third habit is first things first. Now this one sounded also intriguing, because it basically tells you that you have to decide that you're going to do certain things and you're going to do others later. But so many things keep coming at us daily, and actually having been in the workplace, having been at school, you suddenly realize that yes, you can not do everything at once. In fact, one of my mentors, mentors, shout out to Grant Cardone, I follow him on YouTube, usually says that you can do anything the day you realize that you can't do everything. And now there's the everything at once. Now we enter another level of impossibility. They classify first things first with 2 words, simply 2 words. As I said in my video, you do not have to. Sometimes it comes down to as simple as 1 thing, 2 things. So 2 words, what's important and what's urgent. They look at what is important and urgent. Those are usually the crises and must be solved immediately. But then there is what is important and not urgent. And most of that involves building yourself, your body, maintaining your health. Some of those things, it may not seem very, very urgent right now to, go to the gym, eat right, or build the right kind of relationships, but suddenly you'll find that it's now urgent and important and a crisis to solve later on. So actually doing the things that are important but not urgent early enough, I actually consider that's the one that they give priority. Important and not urgent. Then the urgent and important, where you manage the crisis. Then it goes to urgent but not important, Those are things that come up, things like phone calls, they come up, they're urgent, but you may not need exactly to do what it's asking you for. A text that comes to you, you may not exactly need to at that point. So it comes down to you to make a decision. Now, things that are to be minimized most are those that are neither urgent nor important. They can be done in our free time afterwards. It's interesting to see these things written and you say, oh my god, this is exactly what I'm going to do. But when you suddenly realize you're doing a lot of urgent, non-urgent, non-important things, so you have to get back to the principle. That's why growth happens every single day. So, the fourth habit is think win-win. In this life, we've been forced to think that in order for me to win, somebody else has to lose, I have to trample over the world and be the best. But ideally, it doesn't hurt if you win and somebody wins in the end. And when you're negotiating and you actually show somebody where they have to gain, and you also know where you're going to gain, you suddenly realize that the result can be much easier. He also goes on to talk deeply about those who think only about winning, or others actually think about, I must lose for others to win, or I must just lose. Honestly, we don't need to put ourselves in that kind of position, but as I said, it is up to you to make the decision. I actually applied this practically in my life once. Now, as kids, we have chores to do, and sometimes it can be frustrating when you are the firstborn and you feel you have to do every single thing on your own. And maybe one day you humble yourself and go over to your other siblings and just ask them, please help me with this. And they have the option of saying no to you. So actually, I realized that I had to negotiate with my little brother that, okay, even if, let's say we are washing dishes, and he's only going to do the rinsing part, at least it will help me. It doesn't have to be that if he doesn't want to do the washing, forcing him is not going to get me anywhere. But we'll both get somewhere if he does help and I get relieved of the job. So yeah, that was the first big time I applied this particular principle. I'm sure you can also find ways of applying it in your life. Now, moving on to the next one is seeking first to understand, then to be understood. Now in this world, we have so many wars, we have so many conflicts, we have so many troubles that just come because everybody wants to be understood. They want somebody to see things their way. They want somebody to listen to them, right? But it wouldn't hurt for you to seek first to understand, because you may actually realize that both of you, the people who are trying to negotiate, are on the same page, but you all want your thing to be heard first, to be put first. So seeking first to understand, then to be understood could save you so much conflict, so much crisis in your life that you wouldn't even realize. So I also now these days try and first listen. Then also listening is difficult to build, because we can do listening or hearing where you are just picking up on what they are saying so that you can launch what you want to say afterwards. But when you actually sit down and listen to them, you realize that part of the solution you would have missed if you did not listen in to them. So it's something that needs building. I, as a sanguine, is somebody who loves doing a lot of the talking, but deciding that I want to listen a little bit more has gotten me much further. The next habit, the sixth habit, is synergize. Yes, in this life, sometimes we want to do things all on our own. But the fact is, if we want to get somewhere far, we realize that we need the help of others. If we want a task to get done, if we want to deliver on something, we need people to join us. Even in the climate crisis, I've realized that we need those people who destroyed the planet, those people who are in the worst of places, but we need them also in solving the climate crisis, because it took a team effort to destroy the planet, for crying out loud. So I'm sure it needs a team effort to save it. So synergizing, coming together, and it's also important to realize that when we come together, we are diverse. We have our strengths and our weaknesses, but you realize that what is one person's strength is another person's weakness. So once they come together, suddenly the weakness parts are covered and the strengths are sort of doubled. That's where synergizing comes in. And the seventh habit, I hear there's a whole book on the eighth habit, but we're doing the seventh habit. So the seventh habit of highly effective people is sharpen the saw. The most common story is one of two lumberjacks who go out and they want to cut down a certain number of trees to win a certain competition. Now the younger person goes all out, giving it all his energy to cut down these trees. The older individual takes breaks in between, and at the end they realize that the older person has won. So when he does ask what was the secret, it was that he spent those breaks sharpening his saw, because a saw that is blunt you're going to put in so much more energy, but somebody who is sharpening their saw is going to do so much work. And in this era, it is so much put on a pedestal, the ability for somebody to do far more with less. We cannot, I look at the big billionaires of now, and they did not stack up coin by coin to become billionaires, but they got all the other industries that were huge before them to invest in them, and suddenly they moved forward together, and then their networks went up. So we have to sharpen our saw, and sharpening our saw simply means that improving on ourselves, making yourself a deadly weapon, something that is continuously better. I usually tell my friends that the Samuel Abaho of today cannot handle the challenges of tomorrow, and the one of yesterday cannot handle today's challenges. So it's essential to sharpen the saw. These have been the 7 habits of highly effective people. There are multiple songs, videos that you can check out, but it's very beautiful to always be involved. When you are engaged, you suddenly realize, oh, I'm now applying habit 2, beginning with the end in mind. Perhaps I need to think win-win while I'm talking to this person. Perhaps I need to seek first to understand, oh, today I need to improve something on my schedule so that I can sharpen the saw, so that I can be much better tomorrow. Those have been the 7 habits of highly effective people. There's so many more stories in this book that I would not want you to miss, especially one of the paradigm shift, one that gets you ready for this book. But otherwise, this is Starting Out. Like, share, subscribe. Give me a comment down below, and let's continue this amazing, awesome, fantastic journey together. Bye-bye.